Good evening, Commissioners. John Ludlow, candidate for Clackamas County Chair. You know, your legal staff, Mr. Madcore, put out an opinion, not coincidentally agreed upon by TriMet and Metro, that somehow Measure 3-401 is flawed to the following extent, that in the event that there was an emergency personnel couldn't go onto the tracks. I think that's been promoted by the county and definitely by their legal staff since June. And even though the drafters of 3-401 say that isn't the case, it was still believed that that was the case, at least by some, until today. In the voters' pamphlet, I might note that positively Clackamas Chair Eleanor Hunter says that, described how on August 16th in 2008 in Canby there was an Amtrak train that struck a car. And by golly, these people wouldn't have been helped if this measure would pass. This is how handcuffed our emergency personnel becomes. And so she said, and I quote, "We can't believe that was the intention of the author, but that would be the effect. It needs to be fixed now before it becomes law. Let's vote this one down, fix it, and bring back a measure that doesn't have these kind of mistakes." And I totally agree with that. But the thing about it is that mistake was fixed today in one of your meetings. It was interesting to come to your meeting today and yesterday, and I want to thank Paul Savas because he brought forward this whole question and asked that you put on the ballot the whole question of emergency services helping out any kind of rail situation, and you balked at that and said that wasn't necessary. Well, we found out why it wasn't necessary because legal staff then issued the opinion that you can fix by addendum any problem in regards to emergency personnel on rail in the 10 days that come during certification after the vote occurs. So you see, there never was a problem. It was fictional. And I think that's what you're seeing here a lot. We don't have a legal opinion here. We have spin doctoring. It's done by Metro. It's done by TriMet. You won't send it to court to see if it really holds up because you're afraid to do that. You notice the hurry. We all do how in a hurry you are. Here you said, Mr. Madcore said, well, by golly, you don't have any problem. This vote has no effect on our binding intergovernmental agreement. Well, why are you in such a big hurry then? What's the big hurry before this vote? We got to finance that. Oh, wait a minute. Somebody made a 10% off deal for us. It's like sham wow. It's like I got 10% off a cruise, but I've forfeited my mortgage. I won't have a home to come home to. This is how ludicrous this is, you guys. For how long, how many months has legal staff known that there's no force and effect to this? Oh my golly, our emergency personnel can't go on the rail. For how long have you known that ruse has been going on? And yet today it took Mr. Savas to bring it to point for us all to understand that. And the newspapers were there. I'm sure we'll see this. What a surprise. If you've got legal staff that isn't telling you the truth, then you got a problem. If legal staff is telling you the truth, you still got a big problem. Thank you. John Ludlow, candidate for Clackamas County Chair. I live in Wilsonville. I've heard some interesting testimony tonight, including from the attorney, that this is $5 million off. No, it's not. And in fact, the county has to provide $2.645 million to that bid. So really, you're getting 10% off. What a deal for you. The voters with 12,000 signatures have said they'd like to have an opportunity to have 100% off of this program. Now, whether that comes to fruition, I think it might go to court, but isn't it amazing that you're hurrying to a decision here tonight, right in the face of a vote? It also was said tonight that the investment in public transit always pays for itself. Since TriMet has $1.2 billion in debt for unfunded employment benefits liability, I don't think they're in the position to say whether this is a good deal or not. In addition to that, of course, they said that this is an ironclad deal, and you instructed your county council not to investigate ways to get out of it, intergovernmental agreement or not. Wes was mentioned out in Wilsonville. What a success it is. Yeah, it probably is because they've got it down now to where the public doesn't have to pay over $20 per ride. They're down to $11 a ride. That's a real value. Mr. Hoffman said, do the right thing. I think that he's right. You should do the right thing. Because in the end, of course, you've already made your decision. We had to find out in the Oregonian this morning that you've already made the decision to put out bonds for over $19 million. I mean, we had to find that out in the Oregonian. How many times have many of us come here before and said, where are you getting the money? Where are you getting the money? We now know. You didn't let us vote. You didn't want us to vote on the Selwood Bridge. You were wrong, and the public said so. You didn't let us vote on urban renewal, and you put up a phony measure, and you were wrong on that one. And you will be wrong on this one, and that's 3 strikes, and 4 of you are out. Thank you. John Ludlow, candidate for Clackamas County Chair, Wilsonville, Oregon. Last night, it was rather long, and I apologize for having to leave, but I certainly read about it in the newspaper. I think a couple of things I want to reflect on is, first of all, Mr. Chandler's statements that there was no authorization, application, or bond sale schedule out there. Yet, we now read that Moody's approved, ironically, the exact amount you passed on Tuesday. So somebody's lying here. You know, I mean, either what he said was true or it's not true. Either you authorized him or you didn't. If you didn't authorize staff to go through all that work and go get that bond approved, then you've got a rogue legal staff. You've got some problems there. You let them run around and start doing these proposals anytime they want. But we often don't let the commissioners know what we're doing in that regard. We're simply putting forward an idea that we should maybe sell $19.1 million. And sure enough, it came to be. I thought it was interesting that Jamie, you and Ann specifically said, we're really anxious to hear what the public has to say. Well, evidently you're not anxious to hear what they have to vote. I went to the website and I looked at all of your profiles. Jamie Damon brings first-hand knowledge of leadership and meaningful community engagement. You give some of your priorities. Mr. Bernard brings a legacy of strong customer and constituent service. Ann Lindiger makes careful, efficient use of tax dollars and other public resources. And, of course, there's Charlotte. What is missing in all but one of the commissioners' information is one of 2 words, voter or taxpayer. It's never there with you folks. It's all about partners. Well, you have some partners as of last night, and they got their victory. It may be temporary. I guess the last thing I'll say is that it was with great disappointment that I read in the newspaper the final vote. And something like this similar happened in Wilsonville, Oregon, which led to a recall vote. When a certain mayor, on a 3-2 vote, signed a contract with Hoffman Construction, sound familiar, to build City Hall on a park property, which they were told repeatedly not to do. And it ended up in a charter amendment, which had already been filed, ironically. The charter amendment had already been filed. The signatures were being gathered, and suddenly, quickly, the contract was signed on a 3-2 vote. Does this sound familiar? It led to a recall vote, and by the way, the charter passed enormously because of the actions of that council. So it's a familiar story. I know you know it well, Ms. Lehan, and I'll tell the whole story later, but thank you for your time.